Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with some insights into the latest tech and gadgets.
Sounds fun.
It is fun. We try to keep it fun around here. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into some pretty major tech trends that we saw.
Okay.
Everything from a new social media platform that everybody's talking about to a startup with a valuation that's, well,
astronomical.
it's pretty big, yeah. And, of course, we can't forget about AT&T's big bet on fiber and the AI revolution. Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with this new social media platform, Blue Sky. It feels like it just kind of came out of nowhere.
It did.
And now everybody's on it. I think they have over 10 million users in the U.S. already.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's the big deal with this? What's got everybody so excited about it?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about Blue Sky is their emphasis on user choice and safety.
Yeah.
They're really giving users a lot more control over their experience, which is a big contrast to some of the more, shall we say, established platforms out there.
Yeah. So no more algorithms deciding what I see in my feed.
Exactly.
I mean, but how does that actually work in practice? Like, especially when you're dealing with things like state-affiliated media, those accounts that are tied to governments.
Right. It definitely gets tricky, but instead of outright bans, which can be seen as a form of censorship, Blue Sky is empowering users with tools to decide how they want to engage with that kind of content. So they're basically saying, here are the tools, you decide what you want to see.
Gotcha. So more transparency, less of that big brother feeling that some platforms have.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. And I've also noticed that Blue Sky seems to be attracting a lot of users from all over the world, not just here in the U.S.
Yep.
You know, we're seeing people from Japan, Brazil, Korea. Is that intentional, or are they trying to build something global?
Yeah, very much so. They have a globally distributed team.
Okay.
So, it's not just a U.S.-centric view driving the platform. And they've also been very deliberate about avoiding political labels, which probably helps them appeal to a wider range of users.
Makes sense. It's like they're trying to build a truly global community.
Exactly.
It's pretty ambitious. But speaking of ambitious, let's talk about this startup that just hit a $350 billion valuation.
Wow.
That's a lot of zeros.
It is.
How does a company even get to be worth that much, especially before they go public?
So there are a couple of things that have happened. First, the successful launch of their Starship program in Seattle generated a ton of buzz,
Right.
investor interest, media attention. And second, they've been strategically using secondary market transactions, which allows early investors to cash out some of their shares.
Okay.
This creates liquidity and also helps manage expectations leading up to a potential IPO.
So it's like a sneak peek into how the market values them before they even hit the stock exchange.
Exactly.
But $350 billion, I mean, that's more than some countries' entire GDP.
It's a big number.
It is a big number. So does this mean we're in, like, a new era of super valuations? Should we all be investing in space travel startups now?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we've seen before, but it also reflects the incredible potential that these companies have to disrupt multiple industries, not just space travel, but logistics, manufacturing, even tourism, potentially.
So you're saying it's not just hype?
Not entirely.
There's some potential there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears for a second and talk about something a little closer to home. Let's talk about AT&T and their big push for fiber optic internet.
Okay.
I mean, they're aiming to reach 50 million locations by 2029. That's a lot of digging and a lot of cables.
A lot of infrastructure.
What's driving this whole fiber frenzy?
Well, their CEO, John Stankey, he has this vision of a future where everybody has access to super fast, reliable internet.
Okay.
And honestly, it's not hard to see why, right? We're all using more data than ever before, and with things like AI and the Internet of Things becoming more prevalent, that trend is only going to continue.
So they're trying to, like, future-proof their network.
Exactly.
Okay. But is fiber really the only way to go? I mean, what about 5G? Everybody's talking about 5G.
Sure, 5G is great for mobile devices, but for consistent high speeds and symmetrical bandwidth, which means equal upload and download speeds,
Okay.
fiber is still really the gold standard.
Right.
Think about things like video conferencing, cloud gaming, virtual reality.
Right.
all those data-intensive applications, they need a rock-solid connection, and that's where fiber really shines.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially as we all become more and more reliant on being connected all the time.
Exactly.
But I mean, laying all that fiber has got to be expensive.
It is.
How is AT&T paying for this massive project?
So they've made some strategic moves. For example, they've partnered with BlackRock, which is an investment firm, to help finance the rollout.
Okay.
And they've also been divesting from what they consider non-strategic assets,
Okay.
like selling off DirecTV to focus more on their core strength, which is telecom and connectivity.
So it's like they're streamlining to become like the ultimate internet provider.
In a way, yeah.
Like they're really going all in on the future of connectivity. It's pretty interesting. And that kind of leads us to our final topic for this deep dive. It's something that's not really future anymore. It's very much now.
You're right.
The AI revolution. AI is everywhere these days, and it's not just hype anymore. It's actually doing real things.
Yeah, it's having a real impact.
So what's fascinating to me is how quickly AI is actually evolving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've gone from basic natural language processing, like, you remember those early chatbots that could barely understand a simple question?
Oh, yeah.
To AI agents that can perform these complex tasks almost autonomously.
It's incredible.
Hold on, agents. Can you break that down a little bit? I feel like I'm in like a spy movie or something.
Sure. So think of an AI agent as a piece of software that can understand instructions, learn from data, and then act on its own to achieve a specific goal.
Okay.
You could have an AI agent that manages your email inbox, books your travel, helps you with your taxes, all sorts of things.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But are AI agents really that good yet?
They're getting there. There are already some impressive examples out there.
Okay.
For instance, there's this cybersecurity agent called Expo that can scan websites for vulnerabilities just as effectively as a human security expert.
Really?
Yeah. Companies are using it right now to improve their defenses against hackers. And it's not just about replacing human experts either.
Okay.
There's this company, Rox, that's using AI to actually help salespeople.
Okay.
So their AI analyzes customer data and interactions, identifies patterns,
Right.
and then suggests the best ways to approach each individual customer.
Oh, so it's not replacing the salesperson. It's like
It's augmenting them.
it's giving them more power.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see how that would be really valuable.
Absolutely.
But it still feels like we're just like scratching the surface of what AI can really do.
We are.
What about, bigger things like healthcare, education? Could AI have a big impact there too?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
imagine AI systems that could help doctors diagnose diseases earlier,
Right.
more accurately, or personalized learning plans for each student.
Yeah, like tailored to their needs.
Exactly. Based on their strengths and weaknesses. We could even see AI automating a lot of those administrative tasks
Okay.
in hospitals and schools, freeing up doctors and teachers to actually spend more time with patients and students.
That sounds amazing, but also kind of scary at the same time.
It is.
I mean, what happens to all the people whose jobs get automated away? Is everybody going to be out of work?
That's a valid concern, and it's something we need to think about seriously.
Yeah.
But I also believe that AI is going to create new jobs and opportunities that we can't even imagine yet.
Okay.
The key is to be adaptable, to be willing to learn new skills,
Be flexible.
and to embrace those changes that AI is inevitably bringing.
So it's not about fearing the future. It's about kind of being ready for it. All right, let's circle back to some of the stuff we've talked about today. Let's start with Blue Sky. Do you think this decentralized approach to social media is really the future? Or is it just a fad?
It's hard to say for sure at this point,
yeah.
but I do think they're tapping into a real desire for more control and transparency online. The
Yeah.
challenge for them is going to be how to maintain that as they grow and, figure out how to actually make money without compromising their values.
A tough balance.
It is a tough balance.
And what about that $350 billion startup? I mean, is that kind of valuation sustainable, or are we looking at like a tech bubble 2.0?
I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't say for sure,
Yeah.
but it's a risky bet. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But investors seem to really believe in the potential of these disruptive technologies
Yeah.
to reshape whole industries. Only time will tell if they're right.
Only time will tell. And what about AT&T's fiber ambitions? I mean, can they really pull off this massive rollout? And will it actually make that much of a difference in the end?
It's definitely a massive undertaking.
It is.
And I think it's safe to say there will be some bumps along the way.
Okay.
But if they can deliver on their promises,
Yeah.
it could have a huge impact on everything from education and healthcare to economic growth and innovation.
So it's a story worth watching.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we've got decentralized social media, sky-high valuations, fiber frenzy, the AI revolution. It's a lot to keep up with.
It is a lot.
But I guess that's the nature of technology,
Yeah.
right? It never stands still.
Exactly. And I think the key is to just stay curious,
Yeah.
to keep learning, and to be open to new possibilities, because who knows what amazing things are right around the corner.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. It's been a really interesting conversation.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. With all this talk about, AI and automation, it's easy to get caught up in the hype, maybe even feel a little overwhelmed.
Sure.
But remember, the most important technology we have is still the one between our ears.
Oh, absolutely.
Our human brains.
Our creativity, our ingenuity, our empathy.
That's what's going to determine how we actually use all these tools and how we shape the future, right?
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we talked about Blue Sky and kind of how they're changing the social media landscape.
Yeah.
We talked about that $350 billion startup valuation and what it means for the future of investment.
Yeah.
We dug into AT&T's fiber plans and what that could mean for, all of our internet.
Absolutely.
And of course, we talk about AI and how it's affecting, well, pretty much everything these days.
It really is.
It's kind of crazy to think about how all these things are, like, connected. They paint this picture of a future where technology is just, like, woven into our lives even more than it is now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like we're standing on the edge of something totally new,
It does feel that way.
where, the lines between, like, the real world and the digital world are getting blurrier and blurrier.
Definitely.
But it's not all, sunshine and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with all this change comes a lot of big questions, maybe even some anxieties.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we talked about some of them, like the potential for AI bias, the whole ethical side of things with autonomous systems,
Right.
strong cybersecurity. And then, of course, the big question, like, what happens to jobs as automation gets more and more, sophisticated?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's one thing to talk about, all these amazing new technologies, but in the end, it's about people.
It is.
Like, how are these changes going to affect our lives, our jobs, our communities? That's something we have to think about.
Yeah, it's crucial that we consider that human element.
Right. So I guess, how should we approach all this? Because it can be kind of overwhelming, right?
Yeah, it can be.
All this change happening so fast.
It is a lot to process.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's, feeling a little overwhelmed by all this tech stuff?
I think, first of all, don't panic.
Okay.
The robots aren't taking over just yet.
Right.
But seriously, the best thing you can do is just to stay informed.
Okay.
Be curious. And, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
Read about these developments, attend webinars, talk to people who are working in the field.
Yeah.
The more you understand about these technologies, the less intimidating they become.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think it's important to remember that, technology at the end of the day is a tool.
It is.
It's up to us as humans to decide how we use it and to make sure that it's used for good.
Yeah, we have to be mindful of the ethical implications.
Right, exactly.
And make sure that everyone benefits from these advancements, not just a select few.
Yeah, because technology should serve us, not the other way around.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of tech trends, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
In the midst of all this, change and innovation, remember that the most powerful tool we have is still the one up here.
Absolutely, the human brain.
Our creativity, our ingenuity, our values, those are the things that are going to determine how we, harness all these tools and build the future we want.
I think that's a really important message to end on.
So let's use our human ingenuity to build a future that's not just technologically advanced, but also just equitable and sustainable. A future where technology empowers us to solve the world's biggest challenges and create a better life for everyone.
That's a future I can get behind.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the show, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.